Stand, please.
Okay, can we get seated? Thank you. Okay, those of you who don't know me, my name is Beth Meehan. I'm with the James Henry chapter, and I'm very happy to be here. Marty Graves usually does this presentation. She is not here at the convention this year. Asked me to do it, or Otmar asked me to do it. So a lot of this material is from Marty, and so I'd like to thank her for that. Now, there is a judges training, as Otmar said, sign-in sheet. That's the only way we know that you've been here, and this is a requirement if you want to be a judge. Now, how many people here are currently judges? Okay, so this is your annual training. How many people here are not judges, but would like to be? Okay, are you wanting to go the next step, which is to take the test, the judge's test? If you want to do that, because that's a requirement before you become a judge or do your novice training, then you need to meet me at 1:30 in the Harahan, thank you, the Harahan meeting room on the second floor at 1:30. That's when we will be doing the test.
We'll have to check that, but Harahan room is actually down here.
Okay.
It is.
It is, okay.
You got, Basin and D'Angelo probably.
Okay, well, come up to the second floor, we'll find a place to meet. How's that?
On this sign-in sheet, if you do not have the front page, you don't know what the second column is for, that is where you're supposed to put the name of your chapter. Your name and your chapter goes on this sign-in sheet.
Now, you will notice that I have with me the judge's manual. Anytime you are judging, you need to have the judge's manual with you so that you can refer to it if you have any questions. This is available on the AHS website. Go in and download it. This is the last revised 2020. This is the copy that you want. So you need to have this with you. I always have it with me. I always review it before the start of the judging season to make sure I refresh my memory. So what is judging all about?
Hold it down.
Is this okay?
Not you.
Thank you. What you're doing when you're judging is you're comparing the bloom to perfection of that variety. So it may be different for a different variety what perfection is, but that's what you're looking at. What is perfection for that particular variety? Again, you need to have with you the manual for judges. It's available for download on the website under hibiscus competition at the bottom of the page. You need to be referred to that when you judge. Now, first of all, we have categories. Categories are designed for fairness and to encourage participation. Categories is where do you fall in how many blooms, or what's your method of doing things. All right, we have 4 categories. You can be an amateur, which means you have not been showing for 2 years, or you have less than 2 years experience showing, 2 consecutive years. You can be a collector, which means you have less than 75 named varieties. You can be an open collector, which means you have more than 75 named categories, or you can be a commercial. A commercial person is one who sells rooted plants.
Any plant.
Rooted
Pieces, parts. Could be graphic.
versus parts. You know, you don't, if you sell cuttings or seeds, that is not something that has roots. All right, so it's a rooted plant.
I thought it was any piece, part.
No, look in the manual. Says in the manual, okay? And again, this is designed for fairness. We don't want an amateur who has never shown a bloom up against somebody that has 150 varieties and have been showing for 10 years. That's why it's fair. And that encourages participation because we want those amateurs to feel comfortable coming in because they're only competing with other amateurs. You don't have to worry about it. So we do have, again though, we have to rely on people knowing what's in the manual. So I encourage your chapter presidents to please, do you have a question back there? No? Okay. So I encourage chapter members, chapter presidents to make sure that members know what's in this manual and know what they're coming up against. We had a case at one of the shows where there was somebody there who we knew had been a member for a long time, had been showing things for a long time, but she was filling out amateur cards. Like, why? Why are you filling out amateur cards? Well, I'm not very good. I'm an amateur, I'm not very good. No, that's not the definition of an amateur. So she went back and started filling out her collector cards. Now, we're not the hibiscus police, okay? We're not, but I just happened to notice that, so call that to our attention. But again, that's a lack of education on the part of that chapter to make sure that people understand what an amateur is. Now, we do have two categories though, where it doesn't matter what experience you have or how many plants you have, and that's for the miniatures. The miniatures, everybody competes against everybody else. If it's a miniature, and we'll define what a miniature is, it's a plant, it's a bloom that is less than 5 inches in diameter. If it's less than 5 inches, it's a miniature. All miniatures compete with everybody else. The other category is seedlings, where everybody competes with everybody else. Doesn't matter if you're an amateur, this is your first seedling, or you've been doing seedlings for 50 years. All the seedlings go up with each other. Now, what is your qualification to become a judge? First of all, you need to become a judge in training. You need to take the class, which you're doing right now, and pass the test, which if you're interested, we can give later on today. Then you need to observe 3 shows and do the final gold judging with sample ballots. So when you're doing the observations, you are allowed into the final judging area, you're giving a sample ballot, but your votes don't count for those first couple, but we want you to see. And then it's been interesting for you to see how your votes compared to what the judges determined was the actual winners. So then after that, you become a novice judge, you serve at 3 shows, you become a junior judge, you serve at 3 more shows, and this whole process of being a novice and a junior has to occur within 2 years. So you need to, once you decide to be one, get those 3 years in, or 3 shows in as a novice, 3 years as a junior, in order to complete your training. After you become a junior judge, after you finish those 3 shows, you can become a senior judge. A senior judge can also, you don't have to actually judge, you can also clerk, you also have to continue to have training every year. So that's why we do this at convention. So that if you're a judge, you need to have a training class every year. This is your training class for the year. Now, the judging team, I'm gonna move over this way so I don't have to turn my neck. The judging team consists of 3 judges. They must be unrelated. So we have some judges that are husband and wife. We need to have them at separate tables. They should not come from the same chapter. And one of the 3 judges must be a senior judge. So those are the 3 judges at the table. We have 2 clerks, and I love this. I didn't know this when I first saw the manual, but anybody know what a bloom distribution carriers are? I call them runners.
We call them runners.
I call them runners. But the book calls them bloom distribution carriers. Okay, that's great. Okay.
That was continued from what was in there, by the way.
Okay.
PDC.
So the first judge, the receiving judge, they need to be very aware or very experienced in judging blooms, they need to kind of be the first person who takes a look at that bloom and says, is this representative? They are the ring person. There is a ring, I didn't bring a ring, but there's a 5-inch ring. They're the person that if something comes in on a miniature card and they say, that looks more than 5 inches, they take the ring and they put it over the bloom. And if it's more than 5 inches, they call one of those bloom distribution carriers. And they take it back to the person and ask that person to change the card to a regular card, whatever it is, a saving, whatever their category is, collector, over collector, whatever they are. So, and they offer an opinion. They'll look at it, they'll say, I think it's a gold, I think it's a blue, I think it's a red, whatever, but they'll offer an opinion. Then it goes to the second judge, the middle judge. Now this person can be any level. So this is where your novice positions usually are. You're in the middle. And again, you take a look at it, you discuss it with the other judges, and you offer an opinion on what you think the ribbon should be. Then it goes to the captain. The captain's the guy with the pen, all right? He's the guy who's going to circle what the ribbon is on the card, what ribbon has been awarded. He's the last one to judge the bloom, and he circles the tag. If the first two judges say the same thing, they both say it's a gold, it's a gold, it's a 2 out of 3, they can either circle it and say, yeah, I agree, it's a gold, circle the gold, send it on, or they can say, wait a minute, I see this, I see that, and they can start a discussion on it. So it's not automatic when it comes. There's a lot of discussion that goes on and a lot of back and forth, did you see this, did you see that? Tally clerks, there's 2 tally clerks. So once the bloom goes around to the 3 judges, the tally clerks get involved. One tally clerk is going to open the card and record the number. Everybody's going to have a number that you are, and most of us have permanent numbers. That's what we write on the card, and that's what goes on the tally sheet. The second person, the second tally clerk, is going to put a ribbon on that card, and we'll discuss cards in a minute, but they're going to put the ribbon on the card, and if it's a gold, they're going to close that card back up because we're going to be judging later on and we don't want to know who that exhibitor is. If it's a red and blue, it's done. You open the card, you give it to the bloom distribution clerks to put them out on the tables, wherever that is. Okay, if it's a gold ribbon, it's the show director's job to put it out on the appropriate table. All right, so bloom distribution carriers, they bring the blooms back and forth. They assist with any blooms that need to be returned for whatever reason. They take seedlings to the show director. Again, the show director places the blooms, so if it's a seedling, they'll take it to the show director. And they take completed tally sheets to the final tally clerk. There's a final tally clerk that's taking all of these tally sheets and putting them into a final tally. All right, what are the judges looking for? First of all, it's form, the shape and the symmetry. This is where a lot of blooms that are not symmetrical will find fault. If it's a 5-petal, it should be even all around. And again, one of the reasons you might want to be here may not be that you want to be a judge, but you may want to be a better exhibitor. So by knowing what the judges are looking for, that helps you to have a better outcome of your blooms. When I first started, if I would have 2 blooms that were the same, I'd pick the biggest one, put it in there, okay? Now I don't do that anymore. Maybe the biggest one isn't the one that's perfect. Maybe the smaller one doesn't have bug damage, or it doesn't have wind damage, or things that we're going to talk about in a minute. But the smaller one may be better than the larger one. And since I've started judging and I know these things, my percent of golds has gone up from about 50% to now I'm like 85% golds. And I also know when I put a bloom in, if it's not a gold. I know it's a blue or red, I know that. So I'm not surprised when it shows up on that table, but I'll still put it in because bloom count is an important thing for the shows as well. So I may put a blue in even though I know it's blue. But again, if I have more than one bloom, I know how to look at my blooms in order to choose the one that's the best, that has the best chance of getting a gold medal or gold ribbon. So form here is a lot of times symmetry, and you'll see people kind of working their petals, you know, to try to get that symmetry to be a little bit better, you know, not having a gap between petals, kind of pushing them together a little bit to get that symmetry correct. So that's a big thing on form. Okay, size. Now again, we're looking for size as compared to what is normal for that particular bloom. So I've seen sometimes where a storm front will come in on a mini cart. Storm front should be 8, 10 inches, you know? So that's going to take off points because that's not normal for a storm front. Now, a lot of times, since we have so many different varieties right now, it's very hard for some of the judges to know if this is typical or not. So, you know, we do the best we can, but sometimes it's pretty obvious. It's like, nah, that's not what that's supposed to be. Color, again, color, what is typical for that variety. So you need to know your varieties. And sometimes color is an issue if you have one that looks kind of old. You know, sometimes they fade and you can tell they're old because, you know, the pollen's not good anymore, etc. So that's typically where color comes in if they start to fade. Because, you know, at a show, if I have a show on a Saturday, I might start picking blooms on a Tuesday. So sometimes by the time Saturday comes, they're looking a little old. Substance. This refers to the texture and again, for that variety. And some blooms are they're just hard to bring to a show because they're so thin, the bloom is so thin that it shows up. It shows up that the texture is poor for that. Condition, this is the big thing. And this is the thing that most points are lost at. We have wish, weather, insects, spray, and handling. Okay, weather refers to damage usually around the edges of the petals that may have been wind damage, may have been cold damage. You know, a lot of times the blooms, if it gets very cold, will start to turn black around the edges. That's kind of a sign of weather damage. Insects, we have a lot of insect problems, especially in Florida here, where you'll have little pinholes on your plant due to thrips or gull midge or some other kind of insect. Spray refers to something has been sprayed on it. Sometimes I have damage because my sprinklers went off. And I have little drop effects on the plant because it got sprayed on. Roundup will change the whole look of your bloom if you have anybody that does your landscaping that uses any kind of product like that. I forget what the bloom was that we had at one show, but it's like that doesn't look anything like it. Barry, do you remember what that bloom was?
She brought gold peep in. And
Oh,
we're
yeah.
like, oh my God, that
It's
looks and you
awful,
could
yeah,
see
because,
from
because there was definitely, something had been sprayed on it, the color was different and it was in streaks, it was very, very much a spray issue. And handling, so you have to be very careful, you can cause damage just by what you do to that bloom when you handle it. Okay, condition, these are two different plants. They're both the same thing, but they look totally different. we don't know, and we don't really care. We don't really have to analyze what exactly happened to this, but we can look at this and say, the one on the left looks like it should look, the one on the right doesn't, because we know it's Jane Powell, or Jane Cow, and so points will be taken off for the one versus the other. Okay, here's some insect damage. Usually it's little spots, little pinholes. Could be on the edge, could be in the middle. Handling. Usually again around the edges. There'll be little tears. I can't believe how many times I'm trying to open a balloon and I rip it. You know, or I have a little something on it that damages it. Again, is this weather? We don't know. We don't care what happened to it. We just know that it's not perfect for that bloom. Therefore, some points will be taken off. So this is the scoring system. Each of these categories, form, size, color, substance, and condition, all get 2 points. If something has a problem, you can take off 1 point usually. If it's really bad insect damage, you can take off 2 points, but normally 1 point is taken off. You can lose 1 point and still get a gold. So gold is 9 to 10 points. The next one is a blue ribbon. If you lose 2 points and you're down to an 8, you get a blue. If you lose 4 points, you're down to a red. So you've lost that many points. So those are the scoring categories. So when the bloom comes in, the exhibitor's name is covered. There's a little flap that I'll show you in a minute that you cover your name. All that is out there is the name of the bloom, so that the judge can say, okay, I know what this looks like, and this is what it's supposed to look like. The judges only look at it. They're not allowed to touch it. They look at it from the top down, and they can't touch it even if they, something, I could fix that. I could get that symmetry a little bit. No, you can't do that. You cannot touch it. You have to take off symmetry. You can't discriminate based on personal preferences. I don't like browns, okay? I don't like brown blooms. But I can't discriminate because it's brown. I can't say, ugh, blue. You can't do that. An X, there's no real definition of an X in the manual. All I can say is an X must mean you've lost so many points that you're not even a red. Then you're an X. This occurs rarely. Rarely do you have an X. If you have time, it would be nice to put an explanation on the back of the card for the exhibitor so that they understand why you took off so many points that you can't even give it a red. Yes, sir.
Just real quick, an X can also be if you have 4 petals, or 6 petals, 7 petals, 8 petals, anything other than 5. That is
Okay.
an automatic, or if it's not open, so it's not necessarily a number of points off, but there can be something that just disqualifies.
Yeah, it's just totally.
I'm not really big into the X's, but.
Yeah, it's rare. I mean, I think I've seen 2 X's in 5 years. I mean, it's rare that you have.
We've seen it.
Okay? Now, here's an important thing. Judges may not judge their own blooms. So if a bloom comes to your table and it's your bloom, you have to get one of those bloom distribution carriers to come and take it to a different table. Miniatures that are oversized, meaning that the first judge put the ring around it and it touched the ring, which means it was larger than 5 inches, can be sent back and then entered on a regular tag. Conversely, if you have a regular bloom, if the judge gets it, the first judge gets it and says, that looks a little small, and puts it through the ring, and it turns out it's a miniature, it can be sent back to put on a miniature card. Exhibitors must have the plant for at least 30 days, so I can't win a plant here and next week go to a show and put my bloom in. I have to have the plant for 30 days before I can enter a bloom from that plant. And, excuse me, you can only put in one bloom per variety. So if I have 5 swamp clouds, I have to pick the best swamp cloud. I can't put more than 1 swamp cloud in. That's it, one. So you gotta pick the best. And that's why you need to be able to look at your 5 swamp clouds and say, okay, this is the best one, this is the one I'm going to enter. Okay, here on the left-hand side is a ring around a bloom, and you can see that the edges touch that ring. Therefore, it needs to be on a regular card, not a miniature card. The one on the right is a miniature, so it got the miniature card correctly. Seedlings. Okay, we've talked a lot about seedlings already, but we have special instructions for seedlings. And Todd talked about this a little bit already. The requirements for a seedling, that it's not been sold, it has not been shown as a regular, it has not been shown more than 5 times, and it has not won best of show. Any of that happens, then it's not a seedling anymore, it needs to go on a regular card, not on a seedling card. The show director sets out the seedlings, she places them, there's 4 categories, a single, a double, a mini single, a mini double. She will be the person that puts it out on those tables to be judged. If you have a seedling in one of these categories, single, double, mini, single, mini, double, you cannot judge that category of seedlings. All right. This also was talked about yesterday by Todd, in that you, as the exhibitor, are the only one that knows whether it's a mini or not. So if it is, you need to put mini on that card. Thank you. Now, and again, this is a controversy too. In the manual, in the judge's manual, it says seedlings that win best of show must be named and registered immediately. In the seedling of the year documentation, it says they must be named immediately, but it says they have to be registered before they can be entered in the seedling of the year competition, whenever that is. I have to say I'm guilty. I won best of show in March at our show. I named it immediately. I still have not registered it. Okay, now there's no hibiscus police hunting me down and telling me I have to register it, but I haven't, so I'm guilty. But that's a discrepancy, I should say, between the manual and the seedling of the year information. And again, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, that seedlings must be cloned and observed through all seasons. This is again a matter of education with our chapter members who want to show seedlings, to make sure they understand this. A lot of people, they get their first bloom on their seedling and they say, oh my God, I have a winner, and they put it in, and they really shouldn't be. They should be observing it for a full year and cloning it. Now, my seedling that I won March 1st, I have 5 grafts going already. I know that I can produce it. Those grafts have all bloomed. They did that before I even put it in the show. So I've at least done that part correctly. It's about a 2-year-old plant. I know what it looks like all seasons. So again, we get all the, we get a winner for single, a winner for double, a winner for mini single, mini double, and then they're asked to vote on one of those 4. One of those 4 becomes the best of show seedling. Now, if you think all the seedlings are not exceptional, you can choose not to vote. You can put a no vote on your card. Okay, Now, all the blooms have been judged. All the blooms have either a gold, blue, or red ribbon on them. They're all on the tables, and now it's time for the gold seal judging. This is the time where now the judges go in and they looked at all the golds, and they decide out of all those golds in each of those categories, which one is the best. Now, if you have a bloom in one of those categories, you should not judge that category. So if I have, I'm an open collector, so if I have singles and doubles, so I can't vote for an open collector. I only can vote for seedlings, which I have no interest in, or collectors or commercial. I can't vote in open collector category. The winner is based on a majority of votes, so if I have 6 judges, sometimes there's a tie. If there's a tie, they have a runoff between the top 2. If they can't break the tie, the show director comes in and the show director picks out the winner. Important thing is if you're a judge, stick around until the show director dismisses you. Can't tell you how many times we're in the middle of judging or final judging and it's like, where'd so-and-so go? You know, they need to get back here and vote because we're trying to get the voting done so we can set up the head table. So, you know, stay there until the show director says you are dismissed, and then you can move on. Okay, so we're going to set up a head table that has a single amateur, a single collector, single open collector, and a single commercial. Same thing for double. There's going to be a double amateur, collector, open collector, and commercial. Mini, single, same thing. Mini double, same thing. Now, out of those 4, for each of those, the judges are going to pick which is the best of show. So I'm going to have a best single amateur, a best single collector, a best single open collector, and a best single commercial. And I'm going to vote which one of those 4 is the best. That's going to become the best of show. Best of show is going to go on the big head table. And then what's going to happen, then what's going to happen is whatever bloom got the second best is going to move up. Okay, so we're always going to have something in that category, except for seedlings. Seedlings do not move up. So you're always going to have one best of show seedling, but then instead of having 4 best ofs, you're only going to have 3 because one of those categories is going to be best of show and nothing moves up. So that creates then then besides those ribbons, you also have the sweepstakes winners. Now, the sweepstake winners is not voted on. You have nothing to do with who wins sweepstakes because that's based on who has the most number of gold ribbons. So whoever has the most gold ribbons as an amateur, they win amateur sweepstakes. Same with collectors, open collectors, and commercial. Whoever has the most gold ribbons gets a sweepstakes award. Okay, so this is a sample of the tally sheet. The tally clerk has opened the card, and if it's a gold ribbon, they've written down the exhibitor number. If it's a blue, they write it in the blue category. If it's a red, they write it in the red category. These are at the judge's table, so there's gonna be several of these. And the sweepstakes tally clerk is gonna take all of these and put them together and decide who had most gold ribbons. That's our sweepstakes winner. And after you have all those ribbons, you have a beautiful head table. Okay. Questions? Yes?
Can I just make one point?
Yes.
Going back to the point system, this is something that we've had an issue with in the past. So there's actually 3 different numbers that you can assign for each one of those 5 categories. You can either give it no points off, so it's perfect. You can give it 1 point off, or you can give it 2 points off. After we wrote the judge's manual, I went back and kind of did a revision of it to explain that a little bit better, and I did it in a C-pod. So there was actually a C-pod that was dedicated to judging. And the way I described it is, if you notice that there's a problem with it, then I take 1 point off. If it's distracting, when you look at that balloon, when you see that problem, so it's way undersized, or it's got a mark on it, then that would be 2 points. Just to try to make it.
Yeah. It is very subjective.
Yes.
Like I said, in that, again, if I see, gull midge damage, I'm gonna take off a point. But if I see gull midge damage on every panel all the way around, it's really a lot of gull midge damage, I'm gonna take off 2 points. So I can't take 2 points off for the same thing. Typically, we wanna take a point off for maybe more than one thing, but if it's really, really bad, I will take 2 points.
But 2 points is the maximum you can take off.
Right, I mean, I can.
Sometimes people will see on all petal and they're like, oh, there's 5.
Oh, yeah, no, you only have 2 points in the category, so that's all you can take off. Okay, Nancy?
I just wanted to mention when you were talking about, entering blooms, that you can only enter one. Also, if you had one of these plants that every once in a while puts out a single and a double, you can't enter both of them.
No,
You can only
it's
enter one. You have to
one
put
of the
single
variety,
and
one of the variety. So, roslyn is a typical example. Roslyn sometimes is a single, sometimes it's a double. Sometimes I get a single and a double on the same day. I can't take both those blooms in and enter one as a single and one as a double. It's one roslyn, that's all I get. Okay? Yes, ma'am?
This happened at our shows when you do the sweepstakes, where there's a tie for the goals, then you go to the next.
You go to the blues. Yeah, thank you, that's an excellent point. Yeah, if the 2 people that have the same number of golds, then you count how many blues. So again, though, that's an excellent point then, because that's why I will enter a bloom I know is a blue, because I still get a ribbon for it, you know, so that could count for sweepstakes down the road. Pardon me? Insurance, yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Other questions? Yes, Todd?
One more. When I'm the judge's captain, I guess, a lot of times what I'll do is, as the balloon's coming across, and they tell me, oh, it's a blue, it's a gold, whatever, I'll ask them, where are you getting your points from? And make them tell me where they're pulling points. Not only because it helps me out, but because it helps them understand the process a little bit better. I'm not talking about senior judges, but people that are coming up.
And
to
again,
make them think about the points that are coming up.
right, and that's
not just
especially
throw it off.
important if you have a novice judge. Now, I didn't really go through this, I think, very clearly, but after you take the test, you have to be an observer, which means you're sitting behind the middle judge and you're observing. You don't get to vote. You have to do that for 3 shows before you can even sit at the judge's table. So if you have an observing judge, somebody who's just learning to be a judge, then it is extremely important that you talk to that person and you say why you were taking a point off, and show them, you know, look at this here, look at this, and make sure they understand. Same thing for your middle judge, if they're a novice or a junior judge that's part of the education program, to make sure those junior judges are learning about the judging process from the senior judges. So it's not just judging the blooms, it's also an educational process.
Can that person be a tally or a ribbon picker? As an observer to?
No, if you're an observer, you need to observe. You need to be sitting there and listening to everything that the judge says and listening to them, okay? Now, again, I want to stress education. Education for your members who want to enter blooms. And also education in your meetings so that the people are not afraid to enter their blooms, so that they feel confident that they can go into a show and show their blooms. Now, last year we had a program that we called You Be the Judge. And at every meeting, we had a red, a blue, and a gold bloom sitting out there. And we invited our members to go up and judge them. You know, what do you think? Not points or anything, but, you know, can you pick out the red? Can you pick out the blue? And then we talked about it. We said, this is a blue because, and we talked to them. So this, again, is all education, and that's what judges training is about. That's what the observations is about. That's what the whole process is. It's all education to become a better exhibitor, because, you know, we want the public to come in and say, oh my, look at that head table. Oh my, look at, what? This was a red, this was a blue. You know, I mean, they look, to the public, they look perfect. They all look perfect. Okay? And so we want this head table, though, to really just wow them. And we want there to be a lot of blooms at our shows, so that when the public comes in, they're enthused about seeing our show. Okay? Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, again, thank you for your time. And again, if you're interested in going the next step and you need to take the test, come and see me this afternoon. We'll go through the test. And it's very simple. We're just gonna go through it, answer the questions, and we're done. Okay, and do I have to sign in sheets?
Yes, I got it.
I have to sign in sheets, okay. Okay, Eddie, make sure you've signed one of the sign-in sheets. If you haven't, come up and sign it. Thank you.
And if you're on the fence about becoming a judge, I'm going to encourage you, just do it. You'll make a better grower for yourself. You'll see it on the plants. You'll see it in your bourbons. Just give it a shot. I mean, you don't have to be at every show. Give it a shot. Be an observer.
I totally agree with that. I've said that time and time again. I judge my blooms before they go to the judge's table. And it has helped me get a lot more goals than I got.